Will Florida State lose head coach Mike Norvell to the Alabama Crimson Tide?
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into another episode of Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith. I am ready to talk some news about Mike Norvell, the Florida State football program in general, what fans think, and all of that I want to do on this live stream and involve you as much as possible. So please hit that like button, hit that subscribe, and share this podcast. I am looking to build this as much as possible because right now it's about as much fun and wildness as you could have in college football. The all-time greatest coach, Nick Saban, just left Alabama. He's already cleared out his office. I just read that a few minutes ago. You have the opportunity for all these different coaches to be interviewed. Norvell is one of them. So we're going to talk about all of that in just 1 second. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app today and get the app on your phone. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That is Game Time. So what is it that's going on? Like, what is it that everybody thinks? I want everybody's opinion. This isn't about me. This is the news is happening as we go along. I actually just had something come up on my phone that's probably not going to make Florida State fans very happy. By the way, NCAA is expected to levy unprecedented penalties for NIL-related violations committed by Florida State, sources tell Yahoo Sports, including 3-game suspension for an assistant coach and a disassociation from its booster collective and a booster, according to Ross Dellinger. That is not a good sign because Ross has a lot of contacts. That just came up on my phone as well. So if somebody has some news about that, fire away. But I do want to start off on a few things before I get into the comments, and feel free to comment at your leisure. Number one, when Saban stepped down, I had no idea. But he does everything in a plan. He doesn't just wing anything. I'm sure everybody at Alabama in the back office, the higher-ups, knew about it, and I'm sure Norvell and everybody else had an idea. This is not a news flash. That means there's going to be opportunities for a lot of things to happen. Number one, they probably had negotiations with anybody and everybody with Norvell's family, his agent, etc., or anybody else. DeBoer, the Washington head coach, Tommy Rees, obviously the OC at Alabama, Dan Lanning at Oregon. He had been under Saban at the University of Alabama at one point. All these different people and others were probably in that boat. And by the way, Sark, obviously Kiffin, et cetera, too. This is not something that just got spurned. Just because you or I heard about it does not mean they did not. Let's start with that. Two, and this is the big one. I have no idea what his interest is, but based on what I just read, and again, I'll read it again here in a second, probably makes you not want to be around. I'm just going to read this again. This just came up. NCAA is expected to levy heavy, unprecedented penalties for NIL-related violations committed by Florida State. Sources tell Yahoo Sports, including 3-game suspension for an assistant coach and disassociation from its booster collective for a booster. That's from Ross Dellinger. No clue. That would be the first one of those we'd heard because everybody talks about the NIL is an inducement. That's not a newsflash. Everybody does it. Why is Florida State the first one to get it? I have no idea. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just going to throw up people's comments and we'll just go with it. This is kind of a wild ride. Gator hater. Yo, Brian, Norvell not going anywhere. Why? It's the Alabama job, bro. If they offer it to him, I bet you he takes it. Defaulted gamer. No, he's not going to. No, he is going to stay at Florida State. He loves him being in Tally, and being in the shadow is something I don't wish on nobody. I don't know why everybody thinks he'd want to stay. If you interview, there's probably pretty sincere interest. Mike Norvell has got the right job. He will be better at Florida State than Alabama. That is from Jody Beard. Why do you say that? Not saying you're wrong, but why do you say that? Kenneth Clark, let's go Noles and get some more players in the portal and transfers. They certainly could. Florida State's done a great job so far in the portal. Transfer porter case. Well, that's true. Right now, Florida State's kind of rolling there. They say the coach is Alex Atkins. Well, I haven't heard, but if that is the case, his tenure at Florida State could be in jeopardy. Those kind of accusations basically means you're the guy handing out the money. That never ends well for your career. I don't know if that's true about him, but that's how it's going to be perceived. I work in the recruiting world, that doesn't go away. Anthony, FSU, that's supposed to be suspended for 3 games next year. I guess. I don't know. Again, I was literally reading that like 1 minute before this podcast started. The timing was not very good for me. I didn't have any chance whatsoever to research it. Let's see. Nobody wants to follow Saban. Baloney. Here's where you're wrong. Now, that's the logical answer. I wouldn't. You wouldn't. But coaches, as a rule, think they are the one that can change a player. They are the one that can change a program. They are the one to fix a quarterback, even when the odds are horrifically against them. I have learned this my whole life. I guarantee you it's true. Let's see. He built this program back up. This is his stamp on the university. Maybe, but we're never going to know the full story. But the Alabama job is pretty hard to pass up. Jordan Travis should put together a PowerPoint presentation on why Mike Norvell should stay. That is the post of the day. Project Dynasty is the one that brought us this. And I'm going to be real honest. That is a fantastic post. That is one of the best posts that I've ever had on this show. As I sit here in my parents' house on a little mini vacation, when I thought it was going to be pretty boring, boy, was I wrong. I'm just thinking about it. I can't really think of a better way to kind of put that together, because Jordan Travis is a great example of how Norvell and his staff have put things together. Case, Alabama transfer portal NIL. Watch some experts say other schools have more money than Bama. Some kids would make Saban discount. Those days are over. Well, let me explain that. And that is true. Saban hates upfront money for NIL. Despises it. He thinks it is Kirby, it's what he was talking about after the Florida State game, honestly. Thinks there's a lot of truth to that too. And they're 2 peas in a pod. They don't like the chemistry aspect. Part of the reason Florida State lost some guys is some guys were mad. Johnny got more money than me. Timmy got more money than me. Randy, whatever. I'm just using random names. NIL is very touchy. What y'all get in the public and what we hear about behind the scenes, you're not even in the stratosphere. Some of it is very awkward, so I don't talk about it. But the locker room stuff that goes on in some of these places, you're trying not to blow up your locker room just because you added a player with NIL money, especially if it's a guy that wasn't on your roster the year before, and the guy's coming back at the same position, didn't get very much, if any at all, beyond like a baseline number. That's the awkwardness. So it's not that Alabama doesn't have money. They got tons of it. Saban didn't want to spend it up front on NIL. Won't take a discount now Saban is gone. Well, that may be, but we don't know who the next coach is going to be and what their policy is. Alabama's a different kind of animal, I could say that. I think he stays, according to Mickey Mason. I don't think the Alabama O-lineman commits if he knows Norvell is leaving, and he committed today. That could be, that's interesting. Norvell did bring that up. I mean, I saw him plant the spear. Norvell did all that. That's ironic. That is ironic, but they haven't necessarily offered Norvell the job. When does Alabama offer the job? That's obviously whether it's Norvell or otherwise. Who's number one in line? When do they offer it? Nobody is sure about the answer to either one of those questions. You're welcome, Brody. You are welcome. Michael Fiorelli, Brian, if they come calling, Norvell is gone. You know it. I know it. But all these blind-ass FSU fans can't see it. Look, fan is short for fanatic. Florida State's a great job. It does not hold the same cachet as Alabama historically, but more importantly, it's what you want moving forward. I'm telling you, as somebody who has been around the Alabama program, Auburn, SEC a lot, be careful for what one wishes. And this is what I mean by that. The Alabama job, no matter how much talent you walk into, and there's a lot there, it's the stuff that has nothing to do with football, what makes that job unappealing for most. The booster involvement, etc., outside of the Texas gig, which I think is the worst, might be the worst at Bama. Saban got a little more of a pass because he'd already won a title. He'd been in the NFL, his dad, etc. He had a lot of different things going for him, and he's a dominant personality. If they'd have jumped on him early when he took over in 2007, 2008 and caused him problems, he'd have left. Saban could have got another job. How many guys are like that? So whoever takes this Alabama job better damn well sure be ready for everything that goes into it. It is not an easy gig. Yeah, Kyle, I just read that. Again, that's from Ross Dellinger, who's one of the most obviously highly respected people in the industry. If Ross posted that, he doesn't play. That's been sourced to death because he used Yahoo Sports. He didn't put Ross. He put the company tag on it. I'd say there's a pretty good chance Florida State's in trouble there. Let's see. If it's Atkins, that's not good for him. Case I don't know anything about it. Again, I won't know anything probably till tomorrow. Make a few calls, but that does not sound good. The recruit is Amarius Mims. Well, that's interesting. He's the kid that was at Georgia, I believe. He's a big offensive lineman. Yes, indeed. Kyle Everett, rough day. 100%. That is awkward. I think coach might leave for Texas instead of Bama if the Texas coach takes the Bama game. That's something that's interesting. I don't think Sark would leave for Bama. They're very much one and the same. Why would you pick up and move for pretty much the same thing? But maybe he just likes living there better. I have no idea. I don't know Steve Sarkisian, but it's possible. This comes from Seminole Big Boy. And to be honest with you, it's plausible. Sarkisian's one of the most respected guys, and it is rumored that before he took the Texas gig, Saban was planning for him to take over whenever he was done. So that's an interesting take. If NCAA is hitting FSU with significant penalties for NIL violations, would that hurt Norvell chances of getting an Alabama gig now? This is from Case. 100% the first thing I thought. Because here's the problem. Now, perception's one thing, and that's, obviously you don't want that. But do those, because it's his program, even if he had nothing to do with it directly, the NCAA is funky. You never know what they're going to do because they're about as inconsistent as they get with rulings. It's just true. 2, would that follow him in any way, shape, or form to the University of Alabama or any other school that he would go to, Texas, whatever? I don't know. But at the same time, it would look like he's running away from something that he caused, at least in some way, shape, or form, or that he was responsible for. Maybe that's a better way to say it. Case, that's a great question. I don't know how the NCAA would rule on that. And sad as it is, I don't care to look it up because I don't trust them to follow what their own rule is, regardless. It's a really good question. Jerry, Google just reported that Notre Dame coach. I don't know. If Marcus Freeman goes to Alabama, I would be quite surprised, but anything is possible. To put it mildly, anything can happen at any time, but I doubt that's the case, but nonetheless, if that happens, I'm sure we'll have plenty of people talking about that here in a minute. Real quick, again, on the NCAA thing, this is something that just popped up for me, regardless of who gets the job at Alabama. I have no idea. I highly doubt that the NCAA would carry it over, but it depends on one key factor here in general, regardless of how bad you think, and I know I do, think the NCAA does at being consistent with penalties. Was Norvell involved and or be involved for a period of time, especially, and did not self-report? When you hide or don't report, however you want to define it, the NCAA is probably not going, and like rightfully so, they're probably going to drop the hammer on you. It's just the way it is. So I can't say for sure, but that's something to think about. I don't know anything else. I have not had a chance. I literally found this 1 minute before this podcast began. Not the greatest of timing, as they say. Aaron Avery. So we can't compete for any titles for 2 years. I have no idea. I don't know if somebody else wants to look it up. Obviously, right now, I'm not going to go scraping around and looking, but it's goofy that this would happen today, the day that Norvell is allegedly involved with the Alabama coaching search. I mean, what are the odds? Really, what are the odds? That's just bizarre. So it's pretty wild. Let's see if anybody sent me any news. I don't see anything on my phone, so we'll see. They just killed the program. I don't know about that. We need to see what's true, what's not, who all is involved. Specifically, is Norvell involved or anybody else besides Atkins, assuming he is the guy involved? What was the NIL violation? My first time hearing of it. This is from Mickey Mason. Me too. It happened literally 1 minute, like at 7:29. It popped up on my phone. I have no clue what's going on then. I don't really know how they will go forward regardless. Let's forget the NIL thing for a second. Let's play devil's advocate here. Let's say Norvell moves on, wherever. Just curious, based on realistic expectations, there's the key parameter. For those of you in the chat, what individual or individuals would you be most interested in to come to Florida State University that not only could help you win, but do it in a manner that you would be proud to say, I'm a Florida State fan? In other words, like, who's the best fit that's realistic? That's another way to say it. Curious to hear anybody's opinion on that, because I think there could be some candidates that may surprise some people, but I just, hearing the Norvell thing today, I haven't had much time to give a thought to myself, and maybe some of you have. Let's see. According to Aaron's, I guess where did you get this information, Aaron? Aaron Avery says they're taking scholarship, putting us onto your probation based on what? Let's, anyone but Prime from Warren Hamilton. I'm sure his name will be mentioned. And I've already heard somebody talk about that earlier. I don't know if Primetime would want to come back to his old stomping grounds of Tallahassee. I'm sure it would be interesting for him, but that would be good and bad at the same time. I have no idea what to say. What besides Deion Sanders, who else would you be interested in? Deion's name's going to come up a lot. Deion, Rodney Payne, go Dogs from Tifton, Georgia. Well, let's see. NCAA release. Oh, well, if that's the case, Avery, that's if it's 2 years probation, I think that would make it a lot easier for Norvell to leave. That's something else to think about. According to what Avery just said here, if it's 2 years probation, and I don't know, does that include bowl ban or what does it include? Florida State could be in a lot of trouble there because it makes the job less attractive. Current coach, but for who you could hire, that's a rough go. Honestly, I would rather have Jimbo for another round over Prime. Yikes. Okay, so Nicholas is not a fan. Saw it on Yahoo Sports first is what Avery said. Okay. Conundrum. NCAA sanctions. Yeah, there's some stuff about Atkins' NCAA violation in regards to NIL money. I don't know any other specifics. It just came up. Have not had a chance to check it out. Timing was not so good for me. I read it at 7:29 for a podcast. It starts at 7:30. Let's see. Rob, I think Mike stays, but my first call would be Lane. I know Kiffin likes Florida and wants to live here. I think Lane would hop all over this job. I think he'd take it in 2 seconds. I really do. Nobody would want the job. If they're on 2 years probation, again, I haven't seen it. I haven't read it. But if you're getting a bowl ban or any postseason ban, that changes the job completely. 100%. That's a problem. That would be a huge problem. Fisher. I highly doubt they're taking Fisher. Kiffin, Stoops from Kentucky. Stoops is a hell of a coach. I just don't know if Florida State fans would like his offensive style, or would he adjust? Hell of a defensive coach, though. He was DC at Florida State at one point. Sports Illustrated, according to Gabriel Garcia, Sports Illustrated says NCAA, Norvell not involved. If that's the case, that's good for him. It makes it a little easier no matter what he decides to do. Report says they are going to drop the hammer and listed a bunch of penalties, including a 2-year probation. Again, the key here, yay or nay, is there or is there not a postseason ban of any kind, meaning bowl games, etc.? Conundrum, yes, it was Ross. Let's see. We got Thomas Abel. If Mike goes, I'd rather have the Washington coach. DeBoer would be my choice in general. He's just a tremendous offensive mind. They did not have the second best talent, but they finished second in the nation. That's coaching. He took a lot of kids other people didn't want and won with them. He's a hell of a coach. He's young, but to a certain extent, Norvell is too. So it depends on your perspective. Could he recruit at the big boy level in the South? I have no idea, but he's proven he can recruit in terms of getting a great quarterback with him out in Seattle, and that worked out pretty good. Let's see what we got here. Atkins found guilty, allegedly. Again, I don't know. Somebody else will have to answer that. The NCAA has handed down penalties for NIL-related recruiting violation that occurred in Florida State's football program, an assistant, a booster, and a potential transfer. That is not good. Anthony, Florida State, they didn't say anything about bowl bans or not being able to play for a title. That's really the key, because like, think about it. If you're a head coach, let's say Norvell Bolts, who the hell are you going to get? You know what I mean? It's rough. So, it's wild to me. I don't know what you do with that. That's really rough, man, because I'm not a fan of talking about violations and stuff, especially like today. This is like all piling on. I feel kind of bad in a way. But anyway, there's something I don't feel bad about, and that's talking about game time. Y'all need to download the Game Time app. Talking about timing, I get behind on things. I oftentimes need to find something last minute. If you want flash deals, including an opportunity to like pick a section, and then Game Time will pick a ticket for you, they can do it. It's a good price, so you'll get a discount. If you want to pick your exact seat, there's another thing that you can do. You can just go in and download the app again, go in and check out the seats, and you can see where you're at when you click on a seat, where you would be at to the court, to the field, etc. That's a really good way to do it. And it doesn't have to be sports. You can also do concerts. You could do other things in music. You could do things like taking your wife to a special event. Game Time has a lot of different things for you. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account and redeem Locked On, LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right. Let's get back into the questions. I'm really, really interested here in what comes out with the NCAA stuff, because the timing is garbage for FSU. I'm sure Norvell knows at least something about it, but that changes everything for Florida State moving forward, whether he stays or goes, because it changes who you could hire, who would want to come. There's a gazillion questions that we can't even answer. What a probation means. Yeah, to be honest, that's a great question, Aaron. What does probation mean? Every one of them is different. It's subjective. How many times have you been on probation during a certain period? Is it the same coach? There's a gazillion subpoints. It is endless. It is very complex. So Florida State hasn't been in trouble recently, so it probably wouldn't be as big a deal. But if you're inducing players, when did they induce? Did they induce them off another roster? How did that work? All those things. It can get ugly. Who would want to go to the ACC? Go Dogs, Randy Payne. Yeah, well, you're a dog hater. Okay. That's fun. Probably retaliation for FSU's endeavor to lead the Atlantic Coast Conference. My guess is this is a little further back than that, but I wouldn't rule it out. That's from Default Gamer. NK, how is FSU having recruiting violations but couldn't land a top 3 class? If we're going to cheat, let's land a bunch of 5 stars and get the top class. To be honest, he's not wrong. This is an isolated incident, though. My guess, and I have zero insight on this, is it's an inducement to get a kid to transfer, because we're not talking about a recruit. That makes it a little bit different. Will Norvell leave? This is from Nick Bowen. I don't know. My guess is if you get offered the Alabama job, it'd be pretty hard to turn it down. If he gets offered the job like he's the first guy, I'd be surprised if he stuck around. That's just my opinion. Let's see. All right. Photo to George. I think Florida State would match anything Bama offered. FSU would not make the same mistake they did with Fisher. That's an interesting point. If they did, you reap what you sow. That's point one. But point two, where do you want to be? And this is just my opinion. I'm obviously not a rich guy, but does it matter if you make $7.5 million or $9 million? Are you really going to change your life? Coach at the school you want to coach at because you're making millions of dollars here. If a guy just makes the decision on the money and it's $1 million or so after you're making more than $5 million a year, really? That's just my opinion. You have to want the Bama job, though, because it's harder than Florida State, because I'm telling you, the booster and how that state operates is unlike any other state in the country. They talk about nothing but football, 365 there. It is a very odd place. Unless you've been around Tuscaloosa, in that stadium, with those people, dealing with recruiting, I can't even explain it to you. Norvell or anybody else better be 100% sure they want that Alabama job. It's not anywhere as easy as Saban made it look to be. All right. Level 2 violations. That won't get you a whole bunch of that. If it's level 2 violations, this is from your daddy Noel, then they're not going to have a whole lot of problem, in my opinion. I don't think, because that's not going to get you post-game bans and all that kind of stuff. Do you think Mike would leave? Your opinion? Yes, I absolutely do. And I think he has to seriously consider it. I don't know if, again, what I just talked about a minute ago with Bama, he knows that. People in the fraternity, they're going to talk to their agents. They're like, look, this is different. There is no off minute, not day, minute as the Alabama head football coach. Booster involvement there, the expectation there is unlike any other place. It is a very odd place to be. People in Alabama do not look at things like at other places, especially after Saban, but it's that way in general. They don't care about anything else besides football. They said a 1-year suspension, disassociation from NIL collective. No, that's not good at all. No NIL, no recruits. Not completely true, but that's going to put a negative connotation against you. This is from Mark West Houston. I agree that it's a problem. The bigger thing is the negative recruiting against you. The lies, that doesn't mean you can't have any. That whatever association this was or whatever, there could have been a different collective. I don't know if that's the battle's end or whichever one. There could be a different one. It could be a smaller one. It could be an individual booster. I have no freaking clue. But other schools are going to tell recruits, I guarantee you this, if you go to Florida State, they can't give you NIL money. They're going to bold-face lie. There's going to be some idiots that do that. Eventually, that'll come back against them. But at some point, yeah, coaches will do anything to get a recruit. It's sickening. It says Mike Norvell was not involved. That's what I've heard through this chat earlier. Thank you once again, Daddy Noel. But it still doesn't look good because he's the head man. It's unfortunate, but Norvell's going to have to absorb some of this in some way. Marcus, oh, wow. Dan Mullen, hell no. Let me tell you why Dan Mullen is automatically a no for anybody. Does not want, repeat this, does not want or like recruiting. You're done. You're eliminated. Never an option. Goodbye. No. You cannot be that guy. You have to openly love recruiting in today's era or you're gone. Not an option. Let's see. And let's see. Yeah, Mims. We're talking about him. Marius Mims, big-time recruit. Truman, if he leaves, hope he doesn't, but who would come here with what is going on with us and the ACC and the money? It's not a bad question. It's a legitimate concern. I mean, there's no way around it. There's going to be problems. I don't know, man. I don't know. I haven't got that far, but Florida State's still an attractive job. It's in the state of Florida. It's got history. It's got national titles. It's easy to recruit. It may take a little longer than Noles fans like, but I'd imagine they'd land in a pretty good spot eventually. Let's see. Platforms of social media and news outlets. Maybe. All right. Let's see. Yeah, living in Tuscaloosa is low. The state of Alabama is pretty cheap to live in. I don't think you're going to be worried about that as a head football coach in general, but it doesn't hurt. You know, it's a little cheaper to live there. Let's see. Yeah, no Dan Mullen. Is the Stanley Wilcox thing to punish Florida State? I have no idea. That's a good question, but I don't know. 5 scholarships lost for 2 years per Dellinger. That's not a huge deal, but still scholarships. That's no bueno. It's not like you want to lose any. All we got, all we need. All right. Rob, only disassociation from rising spirit, not battles. And thank you for that. That is a very important point. I'm sure there are associations out there that are committed to all kinds of schools that I don't even know the names of. I didn't know what Rising Spear was. I don't follow these associations, don't have any interest. But at the same time, I understand. Let's see here. The issue is Atkins drives Mims to a meeting with the That's premeditative. That's not going to go well. He's probably been told not to do that. Bama fans won't tolerate losing multiple 4 or 5 stars to Auburn or Georgia. He'll get way more X's that he got at Florida State. Bama is a pressure cooker. Is Norvell built for that? That's exactly what I'm asking, NK. And I'm not picking on Norvell for it. Not many people are. They're not. I cannot define what Bama is to even my own father, let alone people I don't know here in this chat. Bama is different. Everything you do is life and death to them. They don't understand it any other way. It's A or B, black and white. And it's win every single time, no exception. Like they just don't, every time they lose, it's like the state shuts down. It's bizarre. Defaulted gamer, but that's the only school disassociation in a collective, not the recruits. Yeah, that's true. All right. Ed, is it true Mike is officially interviewing for the Bama job? I am reading Reese, DeBoer, and Mike have been selected to interview. I don't know what that means. I would assume that he's had some kind of backdoor interview. And what I mean by that, in the industry in general, you're going to know people at different schools, just basic conversations through agent. Like he may not even talk to anybody yet. Maybe none of the 3 have. But at the same time, they already know who they are for the most part because they interview all the time just by their press conferences, by all the meetings and the coaches' conventions and recruiting and seeing each other on different places. They know who these guys are. The interview may not be more than 30 minutes. 80 to 90% of the information is on film. So it's not so much the interview. Would he be a fool to not at least be interested, though, if that's in any way, shape, or form what you're asking? I think so. You have to at least entertain the Alabama job. But again, say, be careful for what you wish. It is not an easy gig. Gabriel Garcia, send NCAA pick of Harbaugh and 2 tickets to a game. They'll be all right. That's great. Great post. Fair the God. Football doesn't use the Rising Spear anymore. Maybe that's why? That's a good question. I don't know all the associations. Y'all have to talk about that. That's not my realm. Stan Wilcox behind this for sure. NK, yep, no knock on Norvell. Only Saban could manage what Bama is. To be honest, he's the greatest coach of all time till otherwise proven. That is true. If he goes to Bama, what about all these players coming to play for him? Can they leave? Here's a real quick thing, and this is a great Florida State, Bama, whatever. If a head coach leaves, this is what I have been told, after signing day, from the time he leaves, it's 30 days. There's a gray area there that I'm going to bring up. What if the school that sees Saban leave, that sees Norvell leave, whatever, they don't hire another coach for beyond 30 days? It's like it's its own special transfer portal for the kids. Well, you want to know who the next coach is going to be, right? I mean, logically. So how the hell does that work? NCAA is too simple sometimes. As complex as it can be, you need to have pretty much the semester, in my opinion, because not only do you need to know who it is, you got to build a relationship with them. Okay, well, they hired this guy. I haven't met him yet, but I'm supposed to decide if I want to stay. And I haven't had a phone conversation with him, met him, shook his hand. The NCAA is very, very goofy. So it's bizarre. Norvell should not leave. This is from Hurricane Jason. Competing is enough, not win national 6 out of 12 years. Yeah, Saban, to be honest, Bama probably should have won at least 2 more. That's what's crazy. He won 6, and they lost 2 or 3 others. They're real close. That's what's crazy. From Warren Hamilton, every player has 30 days to enter the portal when the head coach leaves. That's true. But again, if you like the school at all, you would at least like to know who the head coach is. If you have sincere interest, Florida State, whatever, You can't build a relationship with somebody you don't know in 15, 20, 30 days. You can't. It's asinine. William Starling, I would say unless the guy claims is unsubstantiated. Yeah. That's why Saban waited till first day of winter class. From what I'm hearing on why he left, I'm not going to talk about it right now. It's not football related. I'll leave it at that. William Starling, I would say unless this fellow's claims are substantiated, that I would unfollow him. If they got screenshots of what happened on the guy's phone, if you're texting a guy and it's an illegal motion with the university cell phone, that's not very smart. Don't be that guy. Chris Moore, why would Norvell leave a great program to take over the headache to Alabama? Who wants to have to be compared constantly to Saban? I'm not saying you're wrong, Chris Moore. But again, my experience is with coaches that they usually look at things differently than normal everyday people. I can fix this, you can't. I can make this player better than he can. I can make this quarterback throw better than you can. I can fix. They're a one-track mind. I can do it, you can't, is the bottom line. I'm not saying you're wrong, but coaches look at things much differently than I do. William Starling, the NCAA and school already reportedly agreed infractions occurred. It isn't some guy's opinion. Okay. He said today he and Miss Terry have no health concerns. I have a hard time believing that, but if he just dropped out right after the bowl, I mean, he may have done an assessment. Saban does everything statistically that's possible. But here's a little story for you. A couple of the kids Florida State recruited, he told one guy earlier in the cycle, this is like June, on a visit, he was asking Saban, hey, how long are you going to be here? Okay, this is recruit face-to-face conversation with Nick. And Nick said, I don't want to retire. And he's like, why? Saban told him that I'm afraid that I'll die if I retire. Now, for those of you who don't know, about 6 months after he retired, talking about Bear Bryant, he did die. And a lot of people think it's like this, the calmness, the lack of direction, having purpose contributed to his death. A lot of coaches don't do well without structure. To that point, Saban, I just read a little bit ago, a couple hours ago, he's going to have an office in Bryant-Denny. He's still going to be around the program and involved. He does not sit still well. If that wasn't the case, I guarantee he wouldn't have stepped down. He cannot sit still. No way Florida State will do FSU like Jimbo did. That is from Chris Blankenship. That could be. That could be. Let's see here. All right. This is an interesting situation because I don't think you're going to get duped by FanDuel either. Here's something interesting. We got the NFL playoffs coming up. If you guys are going to check that out this weekend, the temperatures are going to be crazy cold up in the Kansas City-Miami game in particular, to check that out. And with the NFL regular season wrapping up, it's still a great time to get some action with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is easy to use, and there are so many different ways to be involved in bet, like same game day parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays and more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make the first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. All right. Now, let's get back in here. I'm probably going to miss some of these, but I apologize if I missed your post. Let's see, where am I here? Paterno, Tom Brady. I'm not sure what Tom Brady is about. Cleon, because Florida State is in a weaker conference and the competition is better in the SEC. More teams for our conference will make it to the future 12-team playoff. That's possible, but you also knock each other off. Ask the University of Georgia. Truman Gaming, coach's agent, is the agent for the Texas Washington coach as well. Money, money, money. Yeah. That's not a false statement right there. That is true. Saban actually did an interview. Sounds like the new wave of doing things became too much of a constant hustle. The NIL and the portal has become an issue for how he likes to coach. There's no doubt. He wants consistency and his locker room to have a culture. That is fact. Praise walk. Norvell's testimony of his greatest experience in life was watching Bowden walking in the room and having the legacy Bowden had witnessed that day. He stated that's what he wants. He stays. Maybe you could be right. I think Norvell is all in at Florida State. Andre, do you think that is the case if Norvell even interviews at Alabama? I'm curious to hear your answer. Warren Hamilton, Norvell still has the highest odds to become the Bama coach. I'm just curious, which sports book are you using? That's an interesting take, by the way, no matter which sports book it is. Mike Norvell, chances for a national championship is more slim at Florida State. They don't get the results that the top SEC teams can get. That is not true. That is very not true. Florida State just went 13-0. Norvell has already put together a team to beat Bama. He said as much. If I were Bama, I'd definitely make a call to D'Amico Ryans and Mike Vrabel. Vrabel's the guy I thought about. I think he would do great in college. He's a tremendous tactician, likes power football. I think he'd do good. D'Amico is an interesting guy, but I don't know as much about him. Defaulted gamer. So it's official. I'm going to get off here. So go sit in the fetal position, suck on my thumb, and ask my mom for a Hot Pocket and juicy juice box until more info comes out on this. Either the best or worst post of the pod here. Not sure which. Mike Norvell is all in at Florida State. That is why he interviewed. Okay, I don't agree with that. If you interviewed, you're interested in the job. Panama Jack. Coach Saban is a winner. And like most people who are competitive and have a hard time dealing with L's, it's challenging to move on. He doesn't take L's well. I can't blame him for retiring. Sportsline from Warren and FanDuel also has it that way. Norvell is plus 200. Dabo is plus 300. Dabo is not leaving Clemson. He's got an easier gig. DeBoer, 300. DeBoer was my pick to take it because the Washington job's not that consistent. Florida State has a higher upside than Washington. Far easier to recruit. It's not even close. You have to ask, would the Norvell family be happier at Alabama knowing all the continually pressures and constant pressures? That's exactly what I'm talking about. Ducky Dog, I agree. And I don't know. If your family is not going to live there with you constantly, they just are a presence, maybe they live somewhere else part of the time, whatever, then it's different. How old are your kids? Do you want to be there long term? There's a lot of questions that go with that. But your family is a big consideration if you're going to take an SEC job, especially the Bama job. Hurricane Jason, Saban must not want to go play golf on a daily basis like other retirees like him more. Yeah, I mean, Saban will be around. He went and hit golf balls today. They did say that. But he's a guy that is going to be around Bama until he dies. Warren, then it jumps to plus 600 for Lane. Saban handing it over to Lane would be, you talk about different personalities. Holy moly. History has shown that Bama hires mostly from the Bryant or Saban players or coaches. Mike is neither. Oh, that's true, but who would they hire? Like, there isn't a great list of candidates right now for any job, Alabama included. Who the hell would they hire? That's the question. Truman. There is no question he will be an interesting but living in Satan's shadow, and what would we do to keep him? He just got an extension. I don't know how much Florida State could pay or if they want to get into a bidding war. Alabama's going to win that. I can assure you if they want something, it won't be close, but it's a possibility. Let's see. Money and prestige will no longer be something measurable when the family isn't happy. That's just true. Nobody likes to come home to hear your kid got cussed out at school because your dad lost a football game. That's going to happen in a lot of places now. It's just more prevalent in a place like Bama, or at least more likely. Maybe not, But I think a lot of coaches are going to start going to the following pattern. You may live here part of the time or come for games, but like the kids won't go to school in the town that the college is anymore. I really believe that. I think that's going to be a new trend. Warren Hamilton, the Bear thing went until Bama gave up on that and hired Saban. Look, a lot of coaches come in between great coaches. Stallings won the title in 92, but Bama had almost as many losing seasons, 4, compared to 10-win seasons, 5 between Stallings and Saban. Every program can go down and then go back up quick. It's just the head coach, man. You get the right head coach, they put the other pieces in place, the pyramid is built, the recruiting starts, and then the brand is back. That is not a newsflash. So just something to think about. One more thing here. This is kind of crazy. I don't know what the time frame will be, but in case anybody in here hadn't heard, the rumor is that this is going to be done by the end of the week. That means like tomorrow. I have a hard time believing that. Even Bowden admitted he was a lifelong Bama fan. Bowden is from the state of Alabama and originally went to the University of Alabama and got beat out at quarterback and he transferred. Bowden was flat out an Alabama fan. The Bear thing went until Bama gave up on that and hired Saban. Let's see. Yep, Stallings played under Bear. Let's see. You know going in that it's highly unlikely you can match, let alone surpass, what your predecessor did. Fact. That's not an enticing situation. There ain't no doubt about it. Do you want the job or not? There's going to be some limitations here if you take the Bama job. Just saying. Anybody thinks that's interviewing, good luck to them. They're a better man than me. Let's see, off topic, but in this day and age of college football, how would Bowden handle how college football has become? That's a great question. I don't know. He's a great recruiter, and a lot of people like to be around him, but I highly doubt he would like NIL. Most coaches despise those 3 letters. He had to leave because he was married. I don't know who you're talking about, but anyway, that's okay. Before I wrap this up, I'm just curious, just an overall Norvell question for the masses here. You can leave a comment after this podcast is up, whatever you want to do. Is Norvell what you thought he was as a coach? Again, forget the whole Alabama thing. For what he's done at Florida State in his time in Tallahassee. Did you get what you thought? No, yes, some. Maybe in one area, not another. Just curious. I think he's done a pretty good job because he inherited a crappy situation. And, he had to build the roster in some goofy ways. I think he's done a pretty good job. I'm just curious what Florida State fans think. Interesting. Atkins suspended. That is the rumor. I haven't read it, but apparently he was involved with a recruiting violation of a student athlete that was transferring. Gail Wagman. Bowden turned down the Bama coaching job. Hopefully Norvell does the same. I had no idea who Norvell was until he came to Florida State. I think some people were that way because he came from Memphis. I'm not surprised by that. Why is Atkins suspended? And I don't know the whole thing. I haven't read this. I read it like a minute before the pod. NIL violation, using it as an inducement or something. I don't know, but he allegedly drove a recruit to see a booster about NIL, something like that. I'm just going by Cliff Notes here. Truman Gaming. Norvell has done an outstanding job from what he had done when he came here. I think he has too. I mean, the Florida State program, the depth chart and all that had to be rebuilt. It was a long way. So I get it. Hate to tell Florida State fans, but if Norvell offered the job, he will come to Alabama, enough said. That's not as simple as you think there, Cleon. Something tells me you're slightly biased. That's not how it works. I'm going to wrap it up here, but again, we'll get back to this. I need to find out some more information, find out what's been going on, but this has been a wild time in the last 48 hours for college football. You had the national championship. Then right after the national championship, you have people talking about Harbaugh leaving. And then right after that, the next day, Saban leaves. Today, where all the rumors are he's going to replace Saban. It has been just freaking wild. So anyway, answer a couple more questions here, comments. I have confidence in our president, Mike Alford, is keeping Norvell. Well, that could be. But anyway, right or wrong, I don't know if Florida State is going to be able to keep him. I have no idea. I'm just guessing like anybody else because it's once in a lifetime you see somebody like Saban come along. But it is what it is. So with that, I'll report anything I can on Friday if I hear anything. This is Brian Smith once again. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it, but I'll try to find out some backstory on some of the violations too, if I can, in the next 48 hours. Hopefully I have a podcast on Friday with something, but I'll be back soon. Thank you all very much. Please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe and hit that notification bell and share this podcast. You all be safe. Thank you much.